Okay, fine. Let's talk
That's right.
about pornography itself and what happens to someone who exposes themselves to that. So you have your own personal story, but let's talk more generically now. For the average person who comes to you, what have you observed? Because someone might be watching and thinking, well, I don't think it's really affected me that much. So what would you have to say to them?
Okay, so let me give you a theoretical explanation and practical examples.
Mhm.
So what happens is this. The nature, the evolution designed the sexual drive to push us to become better. Because if we want to get a great mate, we need to improve ourselves so that we are attractive in the eyes of that mate. And we feel the reward when we get sex, especially as guys. So you need to make this connection between the evolutionary pressure and the sexual gratification. So that's why we want it. Now, what happens with porn is that we hijack this natural mechanism. We get sexual gratification without doing the work that is required by evolutionary pressure, which means that we don't get any motivation. Why should we be motivated if we already get sexual gratification? So this system hijacks our motivation system. Another way to look at it is this. When you get short-term pleasure, you use your dopamine reward system. Dopamine is this neurotransmitter that gives you motivation and that gives you pleasure in the short term. Now, if you rely on that, you are killing your long-term motivation, which is a different neurotransmitter, serotonin. With serotonin, what you need to do is this. First, you do the hard work, and then you get the results. And with the results, you feel this long-lasting effect of contentment, which is given to you by serotonin. With dopamine, it's different. You don't need to work. It's like, it's a very selfish type of pleasure. You push this dopamine button, you watch some pornography, you do some fapping, and then you get this dopamine. These are two very different systems. And again, what's happening there is that you kill your motivation because you don't need that serotonin. You don't want to work hard. That's the last thing that you actually want. Instead, you just keep pressing this button for this short-term dopamine, short-term pleasure. Pleasure, which is dopamine, versus contentment, which is serotonin. Think of it like this. So one example of dopamine is using pornography to escape the moment, to feel good in the moment. An example of a serotonin system, serotonin reward, is going to do a workout, hitting the gym, working hard, feeling the pain, tearing your muscle, and then feeling amazing. What you feel after a workout, this is serotonin. Now, what are some practical examples of negative effects on people watching pornography? First of all, they waste a lot of time. Some people would watch it every day for several hours. If you think about it, if you just watch it for 1 or 2 hours every day, in 10 years, you end up wasting about $150,000 compared to working a job, a simple job like at Walmart. Now, you also start feeling depressed because you know deep inside that what you're doing, it's not helping you in any way. It's actually driving you into the ground. You feel guilt and shame. And that's why people end up feeling self-hatred and things like that. Some people even become suicidal because let's say you are a religious person, you are Catholic, and your religion tells you that you cannot do it, but you are very young and you don't know any better. So you keep doing this behavior, and then you hate yourself. And then let's say your priest tells you to hate yourself. Now, there are negative effects. And again, these negative effects come mostly from anecdotal evidence, but I do believe in them. Another example is not having energy. You just feel lethargic. not having energy to hit the gym, hair loss, bad skin, especially for people who overdo this behavior, really overdo to a point where they feel they're compulsive addicts. What else? You don't feel confident. You actually avoid talking to people. You don't want to be around other people because you're hiding from them. This is very, very detrimental to your mental health. Now, one other thing is brain fog. People find it hard to concentrate, and they even experience things like memory loss. This guy reached out to me, I think he was 18, and he said that he has to get ready for an exam, and he finds that he cannot concentrate, and he's really, really scared because this exam is so important. He has been working to prepare to it for the past 5 years, and now he can actually miss it. He might actually fail the exam just because of this behavior.
Well, yeah, I think one important thing you said, well, everything you said is quite important, but one thing I can really understand is the part where people start to feel weak, because I know what it's like when you begin to do things that are disappointing to yourself. So when you begin to disappoint yourself, you begin to lose trust in yourself. There are times when you get a task and okay, yeah, this is within my capacity and I can do it. You trust yourself to a certain extent. But when you begin to do things that are outside your moral bounds, when you begin to compromise, do things you thought you would never do, you just feel weak. You feel like you can't do anything. You can't sustain anything. And that's probably the most dangerous thing. When you stop believing in yourself, you lose your confidence in yourself entirely, because you need that confidence in itself to come out of, that addiction or habit or whatever it is. So yeah, I get that. And, you said something important earlier about how there's a drive you're meant to have to focus on a lot of things in life. And at this stage, if you do not have that drive, if you do not have that focus, then you can easily fall into pornography. I think it's also easy. It's easier now because the kind of work we do does not really, for a lot of people, the kind of work they're engaged in doesn't allow them to express that drive or passion. It's just like, okay, I go to a job to just get by. I do this job just to put food on the table, and I'm not really interested in anything. So most people are just lethargic about life and have this sense of apathy towards everything. I think when you do things that you have no interest in and you don't think that what you're doing is meaningful in any way, it's easy to get to that point. So that's really important.